Hello, hello. Can you guys hear me all right? Awesome, thank you. Yeah, I didn't have the right microphone on. Oh, hey, Mom. Hello, hello, welcome everybody. I didn't actually expect to get viewers, this is cool. This is my first time live streaming, so wish me luck. So I'm trying to figure out how people would fight in this kind of world I've built. If you guys haven't seen it, you can go to my channel and I've got 3 videos up explaining the world. So right now I'm just trying to think, how would they fight here? So I'm just kind of building out this kind of box that they'd be in. Thinking these moving kind of panels to cover for archer fire. And all this webbing on the top of the cloud. There's kind of thoughts I'd already kind of had, but I haven't really explored them very much. Yeah, so the big thing I'm thinking is they'd be attacking. They want some kind of way of transporting themselves over there, and they have this kind of cloud. They're pretty slow, but there's like caravan kind of cities that they use for traders, that are hanging from clouds basically. So it would be a kind of militarized version of that. I'm thinking it'd be a lot smaller, for a smaller target, more armored. It's kind of wooden panels. I do imagine they use lots of crossbows and ballista. But I think I'm just drawing without thinking too much, so I need to write some stuff first. A lot of how I imagine the fighting going on would be lots of rope, kind of like how ship to ship combat would be, where they're trying to take down the other ship. Yeah, the dragons are actually they don't cause a ton of issue. They don't target humans as much as they think. Kind of like sharks, I guess, in our world. Their food sources are mainly below that toxic gas layer. No black powder. No, I'm keeping it fairly kind of 1300s medieval. Not quite at gunpowder level yet. They definitely do have metal, but it's still not at a full advanced stage where they have kind of gears and contraptions or anything like that. So fairly medieval. I wanted to do this kind of ramshackle version of this first, which would be kind of like pirates. It's kind of like the pirate ship version of this naval combat, but in aerial combat. Yeah, I've actually thought of that kind of tunnel idea. That's kind of the main. How do you call that? Like it's the main issue I have with this whole gas layer. It's they could just tunnel through that. Main plot hole, I guess, in this kind of world building. So I think that would be definitely a good plot point in any kind of story. Discovering what's below. The cloud horses. I haven't designed anything like that yet. Um, I mean, I think I really want kind of a draw of this to be that idea of humans just running across that clouds. I think that's just such a cool idea. So if there was like some kind of animal that was able to do it, that humans could ride, it would just kind of take away from that a little bit. Hmm. Yeah, I think there's a lot of reasons they wouldn't have. They wouldn't want to go below the clouds or below that gas layer. I think a lot of it would just be they're kind of terrified of it because of how dangerous it is. There'd probably be a lot of myths and kind of superstitions about going below that layer. But there's definitely some adventurous people who'd try it. I kind of imagine a cult of like people who are everyone would call crazy people, but they're saying that there's something below the surface. They're trying to get there, but everyone calls them crazy. That idea seems kind of fun to me. What I'm imagining here is hello from Russia, hello from Mexico. What do you mean, wharfs? Do you mean rafts? What do you mean? I could design a wharf, but I don't know what that is. Hola, saludos. ¿Cómo estás hoy? We are designing some cloud pirate ships, basically. That sounds more interesting. Let's label this cloud pirates. Yeah, it'd be fun. We'll see what happens with it. I hope I can do some cool projects in the future if it keeps going well. I want to try something like, I guess for this, like a little bit more cobbled together, that they'd have these like walkways and just kind of tied, just ropes everywhere. Get some reference images in here. I just want rigging everywhere. And these people just be really good at climbing all over the place. This is the kind of stuff I want. Just grab some images in here. Would a dragon skin clothes protect you from the gas? Yeah, I mean that would. I think it's not some kind of magical substance. I think thick enough rock would, as long as it's not too porous. Metal would. It just need to be kind of really tight. You could probably even have tar and seal a wooden box. Though that might eat through it slowly. I have a whole idea for what's below. Maybe people down there, but I don't know how much I want to get into that. If I want that to be a kind of a story element or leave that more mysterious, or I'll probably just design it all out here. I'm not Mexican. I am Canadian. I've been living in Mexico though for about 10 years. Married here, and my wife is Mexican. My kid is Mexican Canadian. But I do speak Spanish now. What device do I use? This is a Huion Canvas Pro 24-inch. It did have some kind of protection here. It would have to be from above as well. Oh, would they have... Maybe they just have like a pole here with rigging, and then they put kind of barriers up along here. Like they just are way too exposed like this. That would work pretty well, I think. And then they could kind of move them around to leave holes. Yeah, I will. I want to get into. I will show you. Actually, did you see the kitty? I feel like you saw the kitty. I need to save this as a new thing. I think I opened the kitty at the start. How do they control the ship? That is a really good question, and I have to get more into that because I haven't designed all that. This is a cloud kitty. I haven't shown this one at all yet. I have this whole mood board for animals here. Got into all kinds of ideas, and just have to kind of design them out one by one. But this kind of mix of the lynx, snow leopard with the sugar glider seemed really fun. So a lot of how they move is actually kind of using these ballista and pulling themselves to other clouds. So they'd have clouds all around here. Um, that would be the basic way. I mean, wind would be pulling them. I think I really need to figure out how wind works here, because it can't be too strong or everything would just go the same direction. So I don't think they have huge amounts of wind generally. I do imagine there being seasons though, so there might be seasons that have much, maybe half the year they can sort of travel like this, and the other the other half of the year there's not thick enough clouds, or there's not enough clouds. Kind of dissipates if the weather gets too warm, I would guess. And in winter they'd be able to travel like this. Yeah, that the cat is part of a sugar glider. That's why I have this on the mood board here. So I kind of, my idea was just mixing this with this. It's not too complicated of a design though, but just fun things that would exist with the steep kind of hills or mountains, and then being able to run on clouds. They also have, like, mountain lions already have really, really thick paws. There's some really crazy creatures that exist though. I mean, just look at that. It's just crazy. Look at this guy. He's just yelling for all he's worth. What did pirates steal? Is their currency? Yeah. So there's actually really big cities here. I mean, people have asked me a lot about what they eat, and I don't think the food is so much a problem. I've got this whole kind of idea for aeroponics, how they grow food. The clouds just provide so much humidity. Kind of like how, I mean, in Mexico City they had like the Aztecs, what do you call it? Hydroponics. They basically farmed like this. Chinampas is what they're called. They basically farmed like this, and it was apparently the most efficient kind of farming that's ever existed. So I imagine this kind of floating thing, same idea with lots of rigging hanging kind of at the low level, and it's just all the heavy, dense, really, really dense mist. So at the bottom levels, it's not thick enough that you'd be able to walk on, but it'd be very full of water. So there's tons of food that would grow there, and just layers and layers of those kind of farms. I will draw that out though. Yeah, actually the bicycle gizmo was one of the things I thought of. The other thing I thought of was they would have, probably in a lot of more populated areas, they would have laid kind of lines between the cities, just big floating ropes. And so I imagine they would get onto those. So this would be like the kind of highways in this place would be like that. And they could, and this could go all the way through. But down here, it could be a bicycle thing. It could be like a wheel kind of thing where they you know, those walking wheels where people, how big are my people? This hamster wheel kind of contraptions to help this whole thing move. The other thing it could be is they melt parts of the cloud. This is kind of dangerous though, but they could melt parts of the cloud have fire here. It melts that, pours down here, and spins the wheel, and they move forward like that. I always draw it like that. It needs to have some kind of protection. Like a metal kind of thing up here. It could be both, and they use what, if they need to move fast, they can have both going, maybe. Yeah, grappling hooks is definitely, there's, yeah, this whole, I mean, in the most populated areas, there'd just be ropes kind of everywhere. Where it's more out in the untraveled areas, it'd be more you're pulling in clouds like this. And if you grab onto a really big cloud like that, you move towards that cloud. If you grab a small piece of cloud, it'd be more, you just move a little bit, but parts of this cloud is just melting from sunlight all the time, and they need to bring in new ones. So whenever they have something like this, they have a crew up at the top that's constantly pulling in new clouds. They would have money. I think it's definitely, it's actually really big cities with the amount of, I do imagine they have lots of food and quite big populations, even though there's limited space. Like I imagine cities like this and a lot bigger. This is kind of my initial sketch of a city, but I want to have, I have another idea for a city that has kind of 3 spires that connect. But there's lots of cities and lots of people here. Lots of different cultures. Yeah, so if two, it would be inconvenient. I'd imagine they'd probably be lanes. So if there's maybe 2 major cities here, let's say. If we have like a little map from above here. There's a city over here. Another one over here. Draw out a whole map eventually. But they'd have like lots of lines in between slightly different elevations. Like it'd be a whole network kind of system. But then there'd be other cities that are maybe just have one that's like a little country road to get out there. Not many lines. If they can always just disconnect this though, and just pull themselves off to the side if something bigger has to go by. And all this transportation is happening really slowly. They're not going fast here. Yeah, they can have a harness on, but they're definitely the kind of people, they're living on the edge. These are pirates. They're not too worried about safety. You can also have, this is what I was kind of drawing earlier, was this kind of thing. Where we have this whole net coming at the bottom. So if they fall through at any point, they'll just fall onto the net. Multiple lines with dedicated directions. Yeah, definitely. Especially in but in the major lanes between big cities, there would definitely be multiple lanes for different sizes even of caravans. Hey, cheeseburger. Very cool work, Jeff. In terms of travel, could wind tunnels fit into the world? Like Skyver over... yeah, I was talking about this earlier a little bit with wind. I don't know exactly how much I want to involve wind, because it does really mess things up quite a bit. So I'm imagining there would definitely be wind, but probably not quite as strong as what we get here on Earth. But they would definitely use the wind to travel. That's another actually really good thought. I wonder how much would they use sails just to get that? And where would they put them? Maybe at the bottom here, I think. I'm gonna have to make this thing bigger. Make my drawing smaller. Yeah, I can imagine them definitely having sails. Cloud trucks, yeah. The whole rest of the world is fantasy, except they just have giant diesel trucks. Nobody knows where they came from. They're not very useful because there's no flat land, but they have them there. Amazing mix of logic and fantasy. Yeah, I mean, thank you. That's the idea. Is I want to make it feel everything feel very reasonable. Like you want to take this one thing on, I guess, like take it on faith. You can walk on clouds. That's just part of how the world is. But the rest of it is supposed to all feel fairly reasonable. Like it all makes sense. Smaller and light people use flight suits so they could fall off, they could get to the next cloud. Yeah, I would imagine they would have some kind of, I mean, be dangerous, but definitely have some kind of, like the sugar glider. I mean, they would see those cats and they'd probably make suits like that. We'll definitely get into that. Thought about different cultures that would, with different animals for travel, dragon riders. Yeah, I'm not sure how much I really like the idea of Cloudrunners, so I'm not sure if I want to design anything like dragon riders in this world. It just feels like it makes it too easy. I mean, that'd be a good plot to a story. So it might show up, but no promises. Giant storm like hurricanes could be a weather threat for the cities. Yeah, definitely. Weather would be a big thing that would just kind of ground all of the caravans. So they'd have to get to the nearest city. Get this map on a different layer. Just delete that for now. Have you ever heard of the show Kana of the Snow Sea? I have not. Pretty similar in some terms. I will look that up. for wind or lack thereof, you explain due to a phenomenon where there's little thermal exchange between the lower land and the cloud areas. Yeah, I need to study it some more to figure out how it would work. I think one thing also just to consider with this whole world, there's less gravity. I'm imagining the world being a bit smaller, so um, that also just helps all this being possible. Maybe like 2/3 of Earth gravity or a half or something like that. Yeah, I think a lot of the air, yeah, the air doesn't move nearly as much as it does in our world. It's not as fast moving. Everything's a lot slower, so I imagine wind would be a lot less because of that. So yeah, I think if they were on the aggressive, they'd be out here on these kind of things, shooting and everything. If they were getting attacked, kind of everybody comes in here into this box, and they can shoot out of here, crossbows and all that, and they can move these panels around. Their cargo would be stored in there. They can't have too much weight though, because I mean the more weight you have, just the more clouds you need to pull in, the bigger it gets. To get to the bottom floor, can the Cloudrunners dig through? Oh, yeah, in the world you mean? Dig through the mountain? Yeah, definitely. I think that's an interesting plot point for some kind of story, is how they get below there through the mountain. Love to read a fantasy book in this setting. I am kind of planning on writing something, but I want to really design out the world first. So it's kind of got all these. There's so many little logical things that would change with this world. So I feel like if I start writing something now, I'll run into all those things. I'd rather work that out, drawing it and designing how things work like this. Like just now, I kind of designed this whole thing. So, with lots of stuff that needs to be designed, that would maybe, if I start writing it too soon, I'll need to go back on it. Maybe having some kind of stream to design some kind of map. Yeah, definitely. Cloud caves, where the clouds gather together and make hidden places, would be cool. Yeah, I mean, they would move the clouds move on their own as well, though. They're not stationary, so that would need people doing that on purpose. What if in the mountain city, the way money works lose its meaning the more you go lower? I don't quite understand. Like you pay at the top with money at the bottom, you bargain for essentials. Yeah, that could definitely be a possibility. This world tastes like potato and onion soup to me in a good way. What, it just feels comfortable? What do you mean by that? That sounds lovely, but I don't know what you mean. I think on the top they would actually have more like tarps almost covering this up. The other thing I was wondering about using is trying to figure out how they would, like they're out here, how do they melt the clouds of enemy vessels? So having some kind of fire would be really good. But they don't want to melt. They don't want to have it too hot to melt their own stuff. So do they have maybe like a platform at some level? Maybe just on the outside here. And how would they do that? Like, they could have a catapult, but is that too, I think that might be, it'd have to be fairly small. Otherwise, that's just gonna rip that whole thing off, because catapults have a lot of, there's a lot of force behind that. I mean, I just want some excuse to have some kind of trebuchet on here. That's what I really want. Heated bolts. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, it's got to give... So, what about heated gravel? That would be kind of interesting. So, like, because they basically, they want to get... If they're going to fire something into an enemy vessel... Let's just... I think a regular catapult would work best for that. It doesn't have to fire things with a lot of energy, it just needs to get them fairly far. So imagine it's got a big bucket here, and they've got this big giant bowl that's being heated by a fire down below. I'm drawing too fast. This looks like my lines are getting ugly here. Alright, so they got this big fire. They heat up these... Oh, fire's down here, never mind. They heat up basically gravel. They don't actually need fire. They just need something really hot to... and that can kind of disperse. Can just be like a torsion catapult. Nice and simple. They fill this up with like really hot gravel. Could have tar in it and stuff. That flings over here and it just creates this kind of wide pocket. It's just like hot gravel to melt the whole other cloud and start sinking the enemy cloud. I need to read what you guys are saying now. Cover the clouds and it reflect. Oh, that's an idea. Yeah. A reflective material keep away heat. I'm not sure what they would have that would be reflective, but that is a really good idea. I'm gonna take a note of that. That would also just look really cool. It's way too big. Alright, what else did you say? Maybe there's a dragon oil. It's highly flammable. They could toss or fire. Yeah, I mean just oil, that would even... Just like hot boiling oil. That would be another really good idea. Let's take some notes here. There's hot gravel, boiling oil. Honestly, just hot water would even work. Boiling water. Well, that would kind of not fly as far though. I don't know. How far would... Depends how far it would go. Yeah, that's the thing. Catapult produces lots of force, so it's gonna be a fairly weak catapult, or it's gonna have to be way closer. I think I'm just gonna bring this whole thing in. Like that. It's gonna have to be really solid there. And yeah, I don't imagine a very powerful catapult because it's gonna break stuff if it on where it's settled here. Some sort of mechanism to slow ships down there chasing. I mean, they'd be shooting ballista bolts. They'd be shooting. Let's say their enemy cloud is over here. Let's just draw it here. Where's my cloud? So they'd be shooting constant bolts across, and they just kind of fill it up, just like when they're boarding, like ships boarding each other, like pirate ships. They would just be shooting tons of lines across, and they would run across the lines. Get in there close with swords and stuff and try to take over, steal other stuff. Goodness, you guys have a ton of ideas. This is good. Wrist arm-mounted slingshots. Mid-range combat along with the bows. Yeah. That would work. Slingshots would be very easy to carry around, yeah. New York's rooftops, for example, are painted in white. Yeah. Yeah, if it's not, even if it's not reflective, it could just be some kind of light colored material, yeah. Do you know how clouds form? They require catalyst material. Little particles. Yeah. Oh, mushroom spore. That's an idea. That's a really interesting idea. My argument for not having cloud killing catapults is if you can. Pirate goal is not to rob, or to rob, not to kill and destroy. Yeah. So I mean that would be a more military kind of thing. But even just the threat of being able to destroy it would be good. How long have you been developing this world? What was the initial inspiration? I don't really remember when. It's probably been about 5 years when I thought of the initial idea. But I really didn't start designing it out till about 2 months ago. Let's see. Air is filled with oil, and when fired, the end of the air would expand and explode. Yeah, I mean, that would work. Like a grenade arrow kind of thing. Filled with oil. You could have like a wick And then I'll have to make one, test it out in real life. That sounds fun. Started streaming, let's go. Yeah, I think ballista and crossbows would be more common because they're just trying to, and that also just having ballista all over the place, maybe like one on each corner, and then yeah, the catapult seems a bit more like a war weapon, maybe a more. I want to design one that feels more orderly, I guess. That would make more sense for like some kind of government built it rather than this one's more just pirates built it, cobbled it together. Decorations, flags. Ever thought of making a Discord server? Yeah, I mean, I can do that. I can definitely do that. If you guys would like to join that, I'll do that. Yeah. So even if there's less wind, if there's also less gravity, flags would definitely work. I love flags, yeah. Greek fire would be cool. I mean, yeah, that would be the ultimate. That would be the ultimate ship killer here. Greek fire, that's a good idea. Yeah, I think probably the halfway level they would have little wooden planks. The way I've thought of a lot of how people are eating and what they're growing is these mushrooms. Basically, they're mushrooms that grow really, really big, and when they're small, you can eat them. When they're big, they're kind of used for timber, basically. So it grows really fast, and it's really lightweight wood that they would use to build all this stuff. Kind of a hard, lightweight timber. So that's how I imagine they're getting this. They don't have a lot of forests, but they'd also be able to use that for the I don't know even what you call that, but the kind of when you have the mushroom, the kind of things that grow. This is whatever this is. I don't remember what it's called. They could either use that, these kind of things, or the oh my god, what's the words? Mycelium? That's the like the root system, right? Mycelium. Flags in this world would be made from harder materials since they don't experience wind too much. That would work. So that I think they would make the So there, that would be kind of growing into this kind of cliff rock wall. And then they have these thin roots that would go everywhere. So you'd use the stem for lumber. This top part, I don't know, maybe that could even be thin enough where if they peel that off, that's kind of like a canvas kind of thing. And then the roots and these kind of yeah, well there'd be, it's not like the mushrooms would not be the only plants on this. There's lots of life growing here on the sides of these mountains. There's lots of moss, lots of critters and animals and all kinds of stuff growing. Like there's so much humidity and sunlight. There's stuff growing all over the place here. All right. I'll see you later. Thanks for joining. Yeah. Kids dream of a mushroom house. Yeah, probably. They could probably build them because I'm imagining this, like the size of something like this would be like here's a human size over here. They're big mushrooms. What about the spores? They would get everywhere through the clouds. Somebody had mentioned them being like how the clouds actually start to form. The particles grow around those. So that could definitely be an option. But the spores would be everywhere. Almost says leather. It could be, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of life growing around here, so I don't think it's not going to be an issue where there's not enough food or not enough. There's lots of animals that climb on the sides of the mountains as well. Yeah, very potato. I mentioned this spores as cloud, sort of the base of the clouds. I think that's a really cool kind of symbiotic relationship between the clouds and the mushrooms. But basically, that's how they get their food. Food, timber, rope, all that stuff comes from the mushrooms. But yeah, there's all kinds of other stuff, little plants and stuff. There would be trees, vines. But I don't want to get too into that right now because that's a whole different topic. Well, there is wind, and they would move very slowly. It's not that there's no wind. I think part of what I would want to draw on the map is where the wind patterns go and how things move, because like with Earth, you've got, I mean, at a bigger scale, you've got air currents. Let's see, map. Like our Earth has this whole thing going on. So you follow that's how ships follow these trade winds. They travel this way. I mean, so if we have like Europe here and America here, they're traveling like that to go to, and that way to go back. And there'd be a similar thing, I think, with the world map here, where people are using trade winds. It's just everything is way slower. What if the caves were dangerous because of the mushrooms producing too many spores for people to breathe properly? That is a good idea. It's a really good idea. Terrestrial coral. I think you mentioned before, eating the spores as if they were plankton. Yeah? Yeah, I had mentioned the coral that was in my animal board over here somewhere. Coral growing out from rock formations. Especially because the air is so humid, especially at the lower levels, I think there'd be lots of this kind of stuff. And all kinds of plants growing up from that as well, in life. Um, no, yeah, there's. I mean, I'm still working through all that. There is wind. It's just not as prevalent here. We don't have. That's why they probably don't have. They're not using sails as much as traveling with ropes and stuff like that. But they might. I haven't figured that quite out yet. Terrestrial core. Look at Monster Hunter World. I played that game for about 2 hours. Terrestrial coral. Well, that's interesting. Yeah, that's very cool. Yeah, that would create such cool landscapes as well. Yeah, I just looked that up here. Very cool. Yeah, denser, more massive atmospheres will not have that strong winds. Yeah, it's because they're also using archery a lot. And bow and arrows work a lot faster if you know how to use them. At least it's a lot faster than a crossbow, for example. You can reload it in seconds more than having to crank it all up, crank up the string and everything. The other thing I wanted to get into here that I haven't figured out what I want to do for this is hang gliders. I feel like parachutes, I just think, I don't think they have the material necessarily for parachutes. It has to be too lightweight and be able to open quickly. And I think just their ropes are too thick and whatever material would be too heavy, and they don't have enough distance to fall where they'd be able to get back up. But I do think hang gliders could work. I mean, they could have a whole pulley system to bring them up here. Yeah, I need to do a lot more research into the atmosphere, the gravity, that kind of stuff, how wind patterns work. I need to learn more about that. I might want to just talk with somebody who is a meteorologist or something like that, who's also a sci-fi fan. Figure out how all that would work. Crossbows wouldn't be viable for the rope walkers. Yeah, crossbows, I think they would have them back on the in here, and they'd have them like in the central areas, but for actual people that are running across the clouds and stuff, they'd use sort of like a Mongolian bow with a strong recurve, smaller bows that are really good. That'd be kind of the right feel for what they want to do. Need to look up some hang glider references. I would love to do this. I've been, I don't know what it's called in English. Is it parasailing? Is that just from ships? Yeah, no, goodness, I've done this in paragliders? I've done this before. I've just done it in Mexico, and so I don't know his name. What the word for it is. Paragliding? Doesn't seem right. I've done that. It's really fun. One thing about your previous community polls, I think you do best to let what's beneath the clouds remain a mystery. I agree, yeah. I mean, part of it is if I'm going to write a book or something in here, it would be a mystery there. I'm not sure if you guys want to be led into that or not, though. I feel like there's some people that want to know and some people that don't want to know. But I'll leave that a mystery for now, or more so a mystery. I mean, I've kind of alluded to what's there. Rogue winds, humid regions, sky oceans that melt down the bigger clouds. Yeah. It's getting pretty small there. Yeah, this guy would fly over to that enemy over here. Mushroom plagues. Ocean in the sky seems interesting. Well, I think there'd be empty spots where there's like clouds don't grow because there's too much heat from below. Even maybe volcanoes or some kind of volcanic activity that's keeping things like a hot spring or something, and that just heats up all the air in that space, and then clouds would just kind of melt when they come into that area. I don't know if that makes sense. Yeah, the hang gliding seems fun because you could get pretty close like that quite quickly, and then you can start running across the cloud and get into the fight pretty quickly. Volcanoes of water. And that's kind of what hot springs are, isn't it? In a sense. I mean, it's not exactly a volcano, it's just kind of that geothermal energy with water above it. Yeah, Pandora, that's definitely, I think, what would be an interesting place to put a plot of a story would be where they're discovering what's below. But I think I just kind of want to explore if I'm going to write a book, I'd want to explore just this kind of world first, and that could be a second series or book or something, but the guys are yeah. Yeah, I'm thinking of that even way below the surface. That gas that just like nobody would know why there's no clouds there, but it's just too warm. Interested to know if what you guys would think. I mean, I'll probably put a poll about this. If you like just this kind of content where it's just me kind of doing these really rough sketches, or if you'd also like to see, I mean, I'll always do this because this is the best way of thinking visually, but if you'd be interested in seeing more like process videos of doing an actual full illustration of a city or something like that. But I'll make a Discord as well. I'll do that right after the call here, after the stream. The lower world building videos where people explain the thought process. Yeah. I'll definitely keep doing that. The air under the gas is so thick that even digging through the clouds. Yeah, I mean, I have idea. I still want to have some stuff down there, but it's not. It's not. Nothing's defined yet. That could be it. Why did you place the maximum height of the mountain so low? Well, I don't think that's the maximum height of the mountains where I've had on the map here. That's more so the maximum height of where the clouds would go. And that's not. None of this is set in stone yet either. Basically, the idea here is just so that fighting in clouds would only go to a certain height on the mountains, but the mountains still could go way up higher. It's just people can't. You can't. You want to have a certain height so that people would build their cities at the top to be more defensive. But it could be higher than what I have. Like I have it like 2,000 meters, but I think that is really a small area where the clouds could be. I think I want to definitely go higher than that. It's kind of hard coming up with the ideal height because you want it to be at a height where it would be defensible so the clouds can't get to that height, but also I mean it also wants to be, you want it to be a livable height so it's not too cold and not too hard to breathe. Um, how serious is the setting in? Is this setting in tone? I was kidding about Super Mario. This is more like a kid's book setting. I think it's a fairly serious. Like, if I'm gonna write a book, it's probably gonna be a fairly serious book, but I would say probably Lord of the Rings ish. It's not gonna be too like a silly thing, but I don't imagine it being a grim dark setting either. Like, it's also just kind of fun. I mean, the cloud and just the name Cloudrunner kind of fits with Maze Runner and that kind of thing. But maybe like an older YA kind of setting, but not necessarily that it's not for adults. It's just kind of for everybody. Shield volcanoes like on Mars. That yeah, I mean Mars would be a good comparison. I should definitely look into that. Are there flying fish? You know the winged ones? Yes, there are absolutely flying fish. I haven't designed them yet, but yes, they are on my my animal board here. Somewhere. There's some really weird creatures though. Like look what this kind of pterosaur. My goodness, I really learned that they're not dinosaurs. They're pterosaurs. I didn't think too much of it when I put that on that video, but I got so many comments. It's like half the comments on the video. Where am I? Here, there's some weird flying fish designs. Like the flying squid is also, I think that's definitely going to be a thing. They kind of shoot, they kind of melt the clouds inside themselves, and then they shoot out a jet of water. Kind of fly across the clouds like that. Also, I imagine huge, absolutely like enormous jellyfish that kind of float with like gas pockets, and then they stretch along all the, they grab with all these tentacles, they grab onto all the clouds. Got some really cool creature ideas. Shield volcanoes would allow for wide crop fields. Yeah, I do imagine definitely. I mean, I wasn't thinking necessarily volcanoes, but the I do imagine there'd be some kind of country at least where there would be a lot more flat. And they'd have more agriculture than normal. So it has clouds. Electricity is something very abundant. I haven't really thought through that yet. I don't know. I do need to think through that. I mean, there'd be in some electrical storms could definitely be a thing here, where it's like when there's it's starting to build up a storm, you'd want to get out off the clouds. Would people sculpt, carve, mold clouds as a form of art? Probably, yeah. That's a cool idea. I mean, they would just move, so it'd be kind of hard to. The clouds. I mean, the cloud. You'd form it into something, and then it would kind of just slowly move up and around and. Not as fast as a normal cloud, but it would still do that. Jellyfish with electricity, yeah. Medusa from Project 8.80. I will do that, yeah. Astrobiology for concepts for life and gas giants. I will do that. That's a good idea, yeah. Just look at this frog. This is a real thing. I don't even need to design that. It's just there. I can just plop that into my world. And these guys could run across the clouds, no problem. Also, look at it's just the goodest boy ever. Look at him jump. I also think, I mean, kind of manta ray kind of things could definitely lie flat on the clouds, rest for a while, and then just once they get close enough to another one, just kind of burst out from it. You wouldn't want to step on one by accident, though. Also, sort of deep sea creatures. I can imagine this being filled with like a gas from a lower or higher level of air, and they'd be able to move around like that. Some really weird creatures. I think just lots of mountain goats. Yeah, bears can climb rock walls like that. I didn't know they were such good climbers. I'm gonna bring up the actual file for this one. There was actually somebody recommended with all the kind of light reflecting off the clouds, they would want some kind of eye protection, and I found the Inuits used to have these things. Super, super cool. So I think this would definitely be a part of their design for people who are on clouds a lot. Old school sunglasses. Is that what those are called? That, what is it, tunicates? I didn't know that those are in shallow water too. That's crazy. Look at these things. Yeah. I want to look into those. Predatory. That's interesting. Yeah, I knew they could the bears could climb trees, but I didn't realize they can climb like rock walls. We probably have some bears in the story. Water resistant boots. Yeah, they would definitely want water resistant boots. They also, I mean, they have these sort of shoes that they would use so they could stand a little bit longer. They'd sink through eventually, but yeah, their feet would get wet. I imagine some kind of like mountain goat hide would be a lot of their clothes. Hello, what are you doing? I'm world building. What are you doing? Plague mask be used to make air more breathable with mushrooms. Yeah, they could probably do that to get in the tunnels more easily. Beehives hanging off the cliffs and caves. And the bears going up to get them yet. Birds who hunt inside the clouds and have feathers like water birds. Yeah. Oil up. Yeah, I think birds are a huge part of this world. And I think they would hunt using birds as well. Bird coat for, you mean for the boots or for what? Yeah, I imagine there's just giant flocks of birds. And the birds would just come down and they just kind of rest on the, just kind of open up their wings and just kind of lie down on the clouds for a bit. They're light enough they wouldn't fall through. That is interesting. I didn't know that about water birds. Bird equals skyfish. Oh, you're right. Yeah, the birds. The birds would poop all over the fancy houses. Maybe the more bird poop you have on you, it's a status symbol. I also have an idea with the kind of the aristocracy, as they're saying there, because these Cloudrunners would just have giant quads. It's the main muscle you'd need to run on the clouds, so they'd just be really, really muscular legs. But I imagine that the rich people on the top of the mountains, they'd have this kind of love-hate relationship for the Cloudrunners. Whether they think they're kind of like, they look down on them, but at the same time they look up at them, because they're amazing daredevil people. But I imagine they'd wear big puffy pants like their clothes would just be kind of like this shirt and then big puffy pants in the quads, and then kind of tight because they like the boots here. And they just look ridiculous. But that would be kind of the fashion trend that they would have based on the based off of the Cloudrunners. Maybe even like this sash kind of thing. How they have these kind of messenger bags, they would have like this sash. So you'd kind of be like, the rich clothes would be kind of reminiscent of that in a really ridiculous kind of way. They might wear head coverings as well, just because they want to avoid the bird poop and the sun. Well, let's see. Falcons are going to be dangerous there. Yes, they will be. Key fertilizer, yeah. Everything is a twig except their legs. Yeah, they're like super skinny and I mean, maybe they're not skinny. Maybe they're fat. They'd probably be a bit of everything. Anyway, back to this guy. Oh, the other thing I was thinking of, I bet they would have some kind of thing when there's ropes like this, especially if they have one that comes from, let's say up here to down here. They could like have some kind of curved tool like that. And they can zip line down. Because that's just awesome. Are there trade cities where wind currents meet? Yeah, I think where the winds meet would kind of be a big center of population there. I also kind of imagine there'd be like makeshift cities that would just be a ton of trade caravans. I mean, like this, but just imagine this like 10 times bigger and an actual like 100 people living on here. Would be kind of caravans. A lot more buildings down below. I've kind of sketched that idea out here. Something more like this, where you'd have just this come together, but like 100 of these come together and make this giant city with ropes stretching and planks being set between each other to make just a giant city that kind of appears for a few months in the winter, where you can travel like that, and then it just kind of, everybody would go their own way. That'd be pretty cool. So Cloudrunners are twinks. Is there bats? Yeah, there are bats. They're going to be, at least. I got some in my animal mood board here. Cute. Sky puppies. Other storms. Yeah, I haven't designed the storms yet. I do want to research some more before that. One second here. Oh, I will be right back, guys. Alright, I am back. My wife just got home. Alright, let's see. People in colder climates are generally more stocky and short. Maybe the Cloudrunners of a generation become taller and leaner, differentiating. It could be, yeah. I mean, people with a lighter gravity, they're also going to be a little taller in general. But I would imagine having long legs would be helpful to run across clouds as well. Do trains of rope exist? Yeah, that's the kind of idea here. Where you could have these. Honestly, with the ropes there, you probably don't even need, if it's a big enough kind of rope system in between different places, they'd probably just have some where it's just literally kind of a little thing like this with wheels on there. People could walk on here, or they could have like mountain goats or something in there that walk. That'd be an interesting idea. And then they have this kind of carriage kind of things that just go on the go across the ropes. But you'd probably want at least 2 ropes on there just in case. You could have people be identifiable by their body type. Nomads would be tall and lean, sedentary farmers short and stocky. Yeah, I do like that. What is in the animal cage at the back? This one? Or what? Or did I draw something over here? No. Do you think the Cloudrunners? I mean, so nomadic cultures. I think there would be. I don't think there'd be. I mean, yeah, the people that are living on here. I mean, I think the main people that were living on the clouds. There's not a whole lot of reason to do that other than for trade, and so I think there'd be trade caravans would be the main kind of group of people that are doing that. Not so much just people living out there. I mean, they could hunt and live out there as well, so that's a possibility. That's actually like a good reason, just to be free and kind of live out there. So, I don't know if they'd be disliked. I think they'd just be kind of traders, for the most part, though. And somebody said, do you think Cloudrunners would be disliked? I think they would be kind of, I think they'd be more like kind of heroes of like childhood heroes, kind of like superhero kind of figures. People would just kind of be in awe of them as daredevils. I think the rich people would kind of have some disdain for them because they're just kind of, I don't know, they need them, but at the same time they're kind of crazy people who are also looked up at by other people. So, but they'd also kind of admire them at the same time. So even their clothes are designed after them. It'd be a very small percentage of the population that actually do that because it's really, really dangerous. This top one doesn't need to be, it just needs to be something to latch onto it, so it could be a lot smaller like that. It's just got to connect to the rope on both sides to hold it safe. So I think these pirates would probably come after these kind of people that are just kind of helpless. They can't get away too easily. So the pirates would come up along a line like this, and they could just throw a rope over the top of it, and then you're stuck. And they can go and steal all this stuff. Float on away. Very slowly, but they can do it. Put 2 little wheels on top of each one. That's how they do it in the sky stations. Is it like that? I don't. What? I don't even know what to look up that would do that has something like this. It's like the what do they call those? Teleféricos. That's a word in English, so. The cable cars. Oh, they have 2 side by side. I want the mechanism. Is it gondola? No, that's not the right word at all. Oh my goodness. What is the word for these things? Just cable cars? Oh, that's boring. Wait, it is gondola. I'm not wrong. Okay. Why is it? Oh, here we go. That's what I want. So, is it the 2 just to have that stability? To keep things flat, I guess. So they could just do the opposite and have it like so the big one could just connect to that. Like that kind of thing, and then have a 3rd one for stability. Just call them eggs in France? Is that true? That's crazy. It's to stop the wobble, sideways wobble. Yeah, so I also imagine they'd probably have 2 cables, so it's like top down, it would kind of look like a car with 4 wheels on either side, just to keep it more stable, especially since you fall from there, it just kind of, you're done. And their ropes wouldn't be as reliable as our kind of cables. So they probably have some safety ones too. I like this idea though, that's interesting. Poor little goats. We'll give them some food or something here. You can have a little box of food hanging over there. The goats have little parachutes. Oh no. Yeah, we need to have like nice safety rails here. So this is like all well protected. The goats are well cared for. And they don't fall out. Yeah, they would definitely have lots of agriculture and livestock. They'd have kind of aeroponics, would be a big thing. I'll draw that out quickly here, what my idea is. Actually, I'll just put that in a separate document because I want to. I want to do this as another video eventually. So let's say they got the mountainside here. Yeah, air. Yeah, exactly. Aeroponics, but air hydroponics, but air. Aeroponics is a thing though. It's basically mist. So the mountains obviously go out a little bit further near the bottom, and we've got our gas layer here. At the bottom, but down here is like tons of mist. And this is like the beginning of the clouds as they're rising. They're really lightweight, but it's still thicker than our clouds that we have. But I don't know if you've ever like been inside a cloud or really, really misty day. Same thing, kind of. It feels wet, like the air feels wet, and it'd be just like that, like really thick air. And then so onto the side of these mountains, they would have like these kind of things built. They'd have nets going through here. I haven't drawn this out yet. This is just kind of, I've thought it through a little bit, but I haven't drawn it out yet. And they'd have these kind of mycelium roots would be the base of this. This is the whole root network, kind of creating this mesh. They'd have a little bit of soil in here. And just have this kind of system of lightweight timber here. And these tiers of farms. And everything would grow on each of these platforms, and it just, their roots would kind of, I'm drawing too fast for this to look good, I need to slow down. So their roots would come through and just kind of dangle into the air like that. Most of the plants would kind of have a really long root system like that. And there'd be lots and lots of these layers near the bottom. It would be a lower shaded area, yeah. It's not getting as much sun as the upper areas, but it is getting a lot of constant water. But it'd definitely get enough sun through, because there's gaps coming through. It wouldn't get constant sunlight, but it would get fairly consistent. Even when it's cloudy out, a lot of the sun still goes through. A lot of the sunlight that plants need. But there's enough gaps in there, in the clouds, for there to be sunlight coming through. Yeah, so if farming happened higher up, they would probably just need to pull the clouds in. So at the lower levels, they could just kind of leave this to be. Probably at the higher levels, they could have bigger, they'd probably have bigger ones that would be kind of stretching out higher up, and then pull a whole cloud. They'd have to like have the farmers pull in cloud wranglers. They'd pull clouds in to be underneath here, and that would be kind of for the higher, the stuff that needs more sunlight would grow here. But also there's just like lots of, on the rock faces, there's tons of moss and vines and all kinds of stuff growing up here. Especially at the lower levels, they're just, like, they're really, really humid. So it's kind of like a rainforest atmosphere. So this bottom part of this is all just covered in. Except at the bottom levels here, nothing would grow. And this would just be barren rock because of the gas. And there'd be waterfalls coming through here as well. Could even just have irrigation systems coming out from a waterfall to tubes and stuff, and that would, I mean, that could be another way of farming. But yeah, I would think lots of kind of these terraces with lightweight wood and kind of netting in between them. That's how their farms would work. It'd be too cold. At the top, yeah, it'd be colder. Stuff would grow definitely more into the middle and bottom than at the top. Gas being fertilizer. Could be. I imagine it just being people would avoid it at all costs because of the danger. They probably just wouldn't want to get close to it. Somebody else had mentioned in one of the comments on a video that people would have this kind of fear of this kind of yellowish green color. So maybe they wouldn't even want to eat like leafy greens. Just they'd be scared of that color. So they'd probably eat roots and anything like that, but they would not want to eat actually green, which would be kind of a funny cultural thing that they could have. So the ropes and nets come from they come from the mushrooms as well. It's just kind of the roots. I think that's a lot of what it would come from is the roots of the mushrooms. Or blackberries on there. Sure, you can have blackberries. Alright guys, I think I'm going to cut off the stream for today though. It was a lot of fun. We'll hopefully be doing a little bit more of this, and I'll make a video about the pirates and some cloud warfare. I think I want to design another sort of more militarized caravan thing before doing that. But yeah, thank you guys so much for all the comments and participating. That was a lot of fun. I will want to do some more of this soon. I'm going to make a Discord, so I'll be putting that in my community tab, and I'll put a link to it in my profile as well here on YouTube. But thank you guys so much for coming. Armored cloud. Armored cloud. Yeah. Just make sure I've saved everything. It's the only. Yeah, that's all the important parts. All right. You guys have a great rest of your day. Hopefully see you soon.